Hey guys, it's Jamise. Oh, I don't even have my microphone on. Hold on. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so I was going to go live on a different topic, and then I decided I don't want to go live on that topic. And then I came up with a different topic to go live on. So here we are. Hi, it's Jamise. Welcome back to my channel. And today I want to talk to you about rumination because it's something that a lot of people struggle with. And I remember I heard a quote that said, if you can ruminate, you can meditate. I think I read it in an article. And then the author of the article encouraged you to do like a 6 minute long meditation. So you could set an alarm, or if you have a smart device at home, you can say, hey Siri, set an alarm for 6 minutes. Hey Google, set an alarm for 6 minutes, whatever smart device you might have. What's the other one called? Linda, Lou, whatever her name is. Set you a timer and then you can take deep breaths and you can meditate and stuff. But aside from that, I remember also being told that, this is a quote in my book, Tales of a West Side Chicago Girl, Letting Go of Perfectionism, a memoir of faith and perseverance. This one. This is the book that God told me to write, okay? And that's why we're here. We're here to talk about the book He told me to write and how, okay, so let's lead with this quote. Don't go back to your past to stay. That's not how she said it. She said, go back to your past to study, not to stay. We revisit the past to study, not to stay. You return to your past, not to get stuck, but to study. How does she say it? Okay. Return to your past to study, not to stay. So that's what we're about to do right now. It is January 25th, 2026. And I have this thing where I mark my calendar and I will let it repeat every year on something that happened in the previous year, however many years ago. So, and I just can't stop smiling because it's just such a good memory to have. But January, this time, 2020, I flew to California to start my career in tech. I left a career in financial services, literally resigned from my job with nothing lined up. And that's a whole nother thing. Some of y'all are in jobs that y'all hate, and I'm just like, but are you setting money aside so that if and when you get laid off, you are all set to go? Or if and when you decide to lay your manager off and leave the job on your own, because you can do that. I talk about that in different lives. It's only 3 ways to leave a job: restructuring, resign, retire, and I didn't want to add the other one, but expire. You don't have to expire in the job. You could choose to resign. You can allow for restructuring to impact you, or you can stay there until retirement age. But if you hate it, don't stay there until retirement. Come up with an exit plan and come up with an exit strategy. Okay? So we go back to our past to study, not to stay. And I'm going back to my past to study, to share the insights that I got from it. Because in another live I said, what would you do if you knew that in 6 weeks, 2020 was about to happen? Like March 2020 was about to just happen. And I said, I don't know. Like when I moved to California, I didn't know that in 6 weeks, 2020 of March 2020 was going to happen. And then I felt my response after I gave it some thought was, well, Jamise, you did what you were supposed to do the 6 months leading up to March 2020. And because you did what you were supposed to do, because you're supposed to do what God prompts and tells you to do, He not only told me to, but gave me the provision to leave a job I no longer enjoyed, to leave the first company I ever worked for, to leave the team I was on in a dream job that just was no longer the dream for me anymore. He gave me the provision to turn a page in my life, right? But like, I feel like saying that He gave me provision sounds so passive. No, I floundered for some time. I did feel lost. I did feel confused. I was murmuring and complaining. I did feel like Like, you know, like, oh, people out to get me. It's like, no, they not out to get you. They not out to get you. Like, if anything, God is trying to get you to pay attention to him. He's like, can I get your attention, please? Because all the stuff that's happening, if you would just draw closer and nearer to him, he wants to tell you about it ahead of time. Let me tell you this. One of the last few months in the job that I had before I resigned when nothing lined up and ended up making the career pivot and the industry transition, y'all, I was delivering a presentation like I was doing a certification at work. And my manager, he wasn't even in the office. He was on the phone dialing in. And it was a very tumultuous time on the team. But I'm delivering a presentation. It's going well in my eyes. I'm doing my best. But the manager has like feedback for me as he's expressing it over the phone and this stuff I'm really not really agreeing with for real. The fire alarm goes off. Everybody has to evacuate the entire building, let alone the room that we're in and I'm presenting in. But like, I'm done with the presentation. He shares what he needs to share, and then fire alarm goes off. And then we're fouling out. Like he has to hang up the phone because like, you know, he not here, but we gotta go. So we file out, and then as we get into the parking lot, everybody's walking up to me because they can see I'm visibly upset about not just how the presentation went, but just the feedback he had, the conversation we were having, the dynamic was off. And they were walking up to me, and it became this big confessional. They're confessing to me how they actually feel about working on the team, having this person as their manager, and how, you know, they're just like really laying it in on him. But I'm just like, I don't want to hear what y'all have to say about this man. Whatever you got to say about him, you telling me ain't helping nothing. Like, go find somebody else to tell this to. Because I have enough complaints in my mind and in my heart and in my soul. In fact, that's why I'm going to therapy, so I can talk to my therapist about it so that we can work through these issues and work through these problems. And it's my thing too, y'all. You got the job, you have the insurance, the premium coming out of your paycheck. If you look at your pay stub, like, you know, you're paying for the benefit. You're just not benefiting from the benefit, you know what I'm saying? And I want y'all to benefit from the benefit. I don't want y'all to just pay for the benefits. Hold on. Oh, wait. I had saw somebody who can mute. Okay, I'm going to come back. Okay. Yeah, so you can return to your past and not ruminate. You can return to your past to reflect, to learn. And if I had to think about um, like lessons, or in this case, what I really wanted to share was just the fact that I almost want to like urge and encourage you all to think ahead and say, you know, I believe fat meat is greasy. That's what my third and fourth grade teacher taught me. But if you think ahead and you say, hey, I didn't know that in 2020, March 2020 was going to happen. But is there anything that God has asked me to do that I still haven't done that I should probably prioritize getting done just simply because He asked me to? Not because I know anything is going to happen or because I know when things will happen. I just know that it's time for me to make this happen. I knew it was time for me to leave where I was working. I knew that my time there was up. Now, the scary part is the time is up, but you feel like you don't know where to move on to next. That's a career clarity thing. And that's something that can be worked out. But the biggest lesson I learned is that if it hasn't been worked out yet, that means that the people around you are not going to be able to help you to work that out. There's something about your support system that you're going to need to adjust in order to get the support you need to get to where you want to go. So I was just really excited to get on here and not just do a live because, first of all, I didn't even know how to do none of this a year ago, 6 months ago. I tried to start a channel in 2019 And great idea, just not the best timing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here now, and I'm just so excited. But okay, let me bring us home. If you ruminate, which means rehearsing thoughts and things in your mind, I want to give you a framework you can use instead so that you can be more effective with the time you spend in the past instead of just going back and back and forwards and tiring yourself out. So the John C. Maxwell framework, I call it JCM5 for short. It goes test, fail, learn, improve, or enter. So whatever it is you're going back into your past about and ruminating on, let's just say that whatever you did, that was a test. And now you need to figure out what you're learning so that you can improve before you re-enter. So let's just take the example I gave when I was delivering a presentation and the fire alarm went off. And then everybody coming up to me complaining about the manager that we have in common, but in his face, it's like, y'all all lovey dovey. You know what I'm saying? So the test is I'm working this job. I used to like it, I don't anymore. The fail is I'm not liking it anymore. And apparently, the people around me don't like it either, but they're doing a really great job pretending like they do, and I'm not good at pretending. That's the fail. And that's the learning. They might be faking it until they make it. That's not my MO. So, how can I improve before I re enter? Now, re entering could mean going back to work the next day, going back to work the next week, God forbid, committing to go back to the job for another year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. If that's the outcome I'm trying to avoid and prevent, I want another job. I want to be on a different team. What can I do different? So we tested, we failed, and we're learning like I would like to move on to a different team. So how can I accomplish that? I shared before how when I showed up to the Airbnb before Spell House homecoming, and when my friends opened the door, I just started crying one time, and they was like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Well, I'm just thinking about how at the end of this weekend I'm gonna have to fly back and go to work to that job I don't really like that." That's another fail. That's me testing again. I'm going to have a good time. I'm trying to go to homecoming, and it's a fail. I'm showing up in tears, can't keep it together. So what did we learn? We learned it's time to move on from a job. But yet again, we go back to the same job again. So that means we haven't improved. All we've done is re-enter. Let me come up with another example where I tested and I failed. So we got the homecoming example. Well, first of all, homecoming example, the fire alarm going off example. And then finally, I'm at the airport, and then I'm on the phone with my mentor, and she's like, "Yeah, maybe next time we talk, you could plan to have found a career coach, somebody to help you with the job change and transition." And at the time, my mentor, she was actually experiencing her own challenges at work, and I was like, "Whoa, this corporate thing is a jungle," because this mentor was experiencing a situation that I had never heard of before, but it's called being managed out. So it's when management doesn't want you to work there anymore, but they also don't plan on firing you. So they create conditions that help you to leave, get on up out of here, okay, at a lower cost than it would be if they laid you off and gave you a severance, for instance. And I just thought that that was the most petty, passive aggressive, just outright cruel thing one could do. You know what I'm saying? But it was fortunate for me, I was able to hear that that was happening in contrast to what I was experiencing, not to diminish my experience and not to compare the experience, but it's just like, wow, like it is possible for this to be even worse than it already is. And so we just thank God that this mentor was there and a part of my support system cluster to help encourage me and to listen to what I had to say and offer up a reasonable and very practical suggestion, which was to find expert support. And as supportive as my mentor was, is, and has been, I'm thankful that this mentor recognized, hey, I'm your mentor, and there are things that I can help you with. I'm also not a career coach. I'm not trained in that. I'm not experienced in it. And I'm just coming up with more ways to describe. She's not passionate about it. She's not in the thick of it. That's not her day to day focus. All these things, right? Because mentors are great, and we could do a different live that talks about roles and responsibilities of a mentor, of a mentee. But in this case, just know that this mentor was not responsible for managing my career. And most mentors and people aren't. You're responsible for managing your own career. And so part of that management process was me finding the support I needed to accomplish this goal that had emerged. I didn't have a goal at first to leave the company or to find a job that I enjoyed. I didn't know that that needed to be a goal, but I quickly was learning that. Okay. So test, fail, learn, improve. The improvement that my mentor and I agreed that I would make and could make was to find an expert to support this transition I was looking to make. So I ended up working with one coach who was like really nice and amazing after therapy, and then I ended up working with a different coach. Now, the first coach I worked with was like more general, like business coaching, career coaching, but the other one was more focused on job search, accelerator, and job search transition, which is the type of work that I do now, where we're specifically focusing on your career brand, on your professional online brand, on your resume, on your interviewing, on your confidence, on your clarity, and all the different working pieces that goes into making a career change and a career pivot. Um, and especially industry changes like I did from the financial service industry on the East Coast to the tech industry on the West Coast. So the John C. Maxwell framework, JCM5, test, fail, learn, improve, re-enter. Eventually, when I went to go back to work, I went, but this time I had a career coach. This time I was clear what I wanted to do next. This time I had a target last day of work at that job. This time I had my 2 week notice written. This time, and as you can imagine, I'm continuing to progress toward the end goal, which is to leave and exit the job I'm in that's no longer an ideal fit. And I'm getting closer to moving into the job, the company, the career, and the industry that is a better fit for me. I think we often get it wrong about these jobs and these corporations. Sometimes, especially for you, woman of God, you know, you got these gifts that God has given to you. And I think we often overlook the experience you're having now. One is definitely more spiritual than it is natural. And two, it's often a form of divine intervention, divine agitation, and divine, what was the other one I said? It was like intervention, which when the alarm went off, that was intervention. Agitation, the fact that I wanted to move on from the job. And I think that like divine prevention is the other one, right? Because the job I was in was 80% travel, and God prevented me from still being in that job by the time March 2020 happened. And travel was no longer a thing, and the entire makeup of that job completely changed. And the only thing that I had enjoyed the most, one of the things I still was enjoying, but it was also getting old, was the travel part. And when 2020 March happened, travel went away. So divine prevention, divine intervention, and divine agitation. I want you to take those with you into the work week and into the rest of this year as you're looking at the things that are happening, as you're looking at the meetings that get canceled, as you're looking at the responsibilities growing in your role and the pay is not, as you're looking at people coming to work murmuring and complaining, languishing, as you're looking at yourself, right? Go watch the video I did on 18 ways to know it's time to leave your job. As your identity is morphing into someone you don't even recognize, you're complaining, You've taken on the victim mentality. You have a victim identity. You view yourself as caged and stuck. Those are signs. Those are signs that it's time to do something different from what you're doing. So you have an opportunity to choose and decide now that you've tested and failed, right? You woke up, you went to work, you wasn't feeling it. What did you learn? Was there something specific you were not feeling? Because you'll often say, oh, I didn't like none of it. Get specific, right? I didn't like when my contributions were not acknowledged. I didn't appreciate when more work was added to my plate without any discussion on increasing my compensation for it. Get specific, because the more specific you get about what you're not enjoying, the more specific and clear you can be about what you would prefer to have next. I loved how me and my coach used to talk about it. We used to say, don't just focus on what you're running away from, focus on what you're running toward. Because I promise you, having something to run toward is far more inspiring, encouraging, and motivational than just running away from stuff. Running away from stuff is rooted in fear, and running toward stuff is rooted in power. And you want to be making decisions from a place of power, not from a place of fear. Um, and so, yeah, I'll leave you with that. The test, fail, learn, improve, re-enter. And then check out more videos on my channel to continue to learn how you can go from where you are right now, feeling stuck, in order to bridge that gap between stuck and feeling fulfilled in your career. I'll catch you guys on my next live. Have a good one. Bye.